Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins was in the room with the president today. He's in the room with us tonight. Judge Jenkins, thanks for coming down to talk with us.
Steve, glad to be with you.
What stood out for you today?
Well, it was a very good, constructive hour and 15-minute conversation with a small group of people. We discussed a lot of things, but what we all agreed on is that the ultimate fix for this needs to be for these children to be in their own country and have some services there in their own country and to fix the problem on that end so we don't have this surge. We also discussed the fact that we have children here now and the need to help those children in a more compassionate way now.
Are you talking about children coming across the border here now? Are you talking about the border children? The reason I asked that, Judge Jenkins, is because one of the calls, I was surprised, and then it kind of struck me today. We are getting a lot of calls from local people saying, hey, we have children here locally in Dallas County right now. Let's worry about them. We have kids in poverty who are not safe and not eating. Let's worry about our kids, not these kids. And I think some of them may have a point if those kids are in their family or part of that. What do you say to those people?
Children are children, and we have children that need our help, and we need to.
Well, I get that, and I don't really mean. I mean, let's all assume that all children we all care about children, and the people who are running it, but they care about the children here, and they say, what about Dallas County children who need help and are hungry? And is there no?
Here in America, we do a lot for the children. But we don't have our children right now stacked into drunk tanks with their faces pressed to the glass looking at their brothers and sisters. We don't have children who have to go to the bathroom in front of their 30 roommates in a drunk tank. We don't have children here in this county that are going through what those children in McAllen are going through now. Yes, we do need to take care of all the children, but using that there are poor children here in Dallas County as an excuse to turn our backs on those children that are there who are children like ours, made in the image of God, and they need our help, and we're going to help them.
Are you concerned that there is something that you don't know about? You know, I mean, we've got a sort of plan in place. We're welcoming them. You know, the military term is we don't know what we don't know. Do you have any concerns about what you don't know?
These are not terrorists. These are children. The health concerns of these children are the same health concerns we deal with every day at Parkland. The emotional concerns of these children are the same the same emotional concerns that we see in war-torn countries and with refugees everywhere. And we're well equipped to take care of kids like this. We are literally the port in the storm when a hurricane happens.
Absolutely true. I guess one of the examples, things that will come up, like the ACLU today is suing the Department of Justice, saying every detained child and adult should have individual legal representation. If that happens, that's going to cost a lot of money. I mean, things might evolve that we might not be prepared for and maybe financially draining. Is that an issue for the county? Do you try to plan for that?
Well, the Dallas Hispanic Bar Association and the Catholic Charities have stepped up and are providing free legal representation to the children as they come here, because we're required by law, our government, our federal government is required by law to maintain certain legal rights for refugees.
Are you? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say everyone is doing their part here in Texas. Right. Lawyers are stepping up, faith groups are stepping up, this county and the city are stepping up. Our state leaders have done a surge on the border. I do agree with the president's point today that everyone needs to step up, and that includes Congress, because if our delegation would stand up for Texas, where our border agents and our DPS are extremely stretched, and get this emergency appropriation done, then it would pass, because we've got enough of a critical mass here in Texas that if we lead, the rest of the nation would follow.
And the president, while not specifically naming any names, blaming Congress is Republican controlled, said it shouldn't be made partisan. It's not a political thing. It's more than that. But I thought the room was partisan today that you were in. I only saw one Republican, and that was the governor, who kind of, I don't know if he forced his way in, but he's a last-minute ad. A lot of Democrats in there.
No, actually, a lot of Republicans. Mayor Ron Jensen's a Republican, the mayor of Grand Prairie, but he recognizes that this is not a partisan issue. This is a humanitarian crisis. Former Senator Kyle Janik, who's the head of Texas Department of Health and Human Services, he recognizes it's a humanitarian crisis, and he is Governor Perry's top health official.
Okay, so I don't know if you took roll.
Head of
Republicans.
Steve McCraw, head of DPS. There were quite a few Republicans there.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't really see any politicians, any elected local, any North Texas local politicians. Have you changed any of your thinking? I know you're elected and you answer to the voters and you make a decision, and if they agree, you get reelected, and if they don't, at some point you don't. But have you made any deviations based on outside input as far as, I want this plan, that's good input from a Republican or whoever, yeah, let's change this, let's change that. You know, have you taken input and changed paths at all? Tell me what,
Absolutely.
in what way?
Well, Kyle Janik and I had a 30-minute, Commissioner Janik and I had a 30-minute meeting before we met with the president to discuss medical issues, quarantine protocols, and streamlining that way. I talked to Republicans about this every day. I had Jonathan Neerman, who's a former Republican Party chair, call me last night and say keep going. So this need not be a partisan issue. This is a humanitarian crisis. We need to stand up for these children. There's not a good excuse not to stand up for children, and we're going to do that in Dallas County.
Are you worried, because this is, when something's a hot political issue, you don't want it to be, but you know how this works. It has the focus. Everybody's laser focused. And then after a certain point, it isn't the hot thing anymore. People move on, and maybe funding gets watered down, or, that can happen, as time goes on. Are you concerned about that at all?
This is different from a hurricane response where we put out money and hope to be paid back. This is identifying facilities so that a federal contractor can be paid by the federal government to provide complete services, and then our faith community and our community groups can lay on top of that some compassion and some love and some sense of normalcy for children who are terrified and who've been through a terrible ordeal and need somebody to love them and treat them not like a detainee, but like a child.
Meeting with the president today and this group, you feel better about what Dallas County is doing? I don't think you feel worse about it, but I mean, how might things change? Anything different? Do you got any other plans, or are we down the right path and this is everything that we should be doing?
I think we're going down the right path. I think it's always good when you get the leader of our country and the leader of our state in a room together and we discuss our plans. It just helps us to get more aligned. Everyone needs to be aligned on finding the best way to help these children. That part is clear. They may disagree about comprehensive immigration reform or a host of other things, but the humanitarian crisis, we all need to align, and that includes Congress, and we need to get the tools necessary to our troops on the border.
Lastly, this is probably the least important, so I saved it for last, but I'm curious, you were a fly on the wall or more active, but the president and Governor Perry, politically not best buddies. How did they interact? You observed them. What's your takeaway? Well,
for a regular meeting of your family, it would have been tense, but for Texas politics, it was a pretty good meeting.
So a little tension. I like that. That's what we'd expect, I think. Everybody expects that. That's good. All right. County Judge Clay Jenkins, thanks for coming down and sharing your thoughts. Thanks.